What is going on, Trash Talkers? We're back with another episode for you. Today's video, we're going to be talking about the Los Angeles Rams running back situation as Cam Akers has torn his Achilles. We're going to tell you what this means for the team moving forward. All that and much more coming your way right now! All right, Nick. On Tuesday, we learned that Los Angeles Rams running back Cam Akers had torn his Achilles tendon after working out on Monday. It was confirmed by the team after it was initially reported by Ian Rappaport, and there was just a lot of tension. Obviously, Cam Akers, he was expected to do some really big things this year. They had him in a prove-it year last year and really just wanted to see what he could do. He showed that he could be the RB1 for this team, and fantasy implications, everything. There's a lot that goes into this. So what'd you think when you heard this news?
It was absolutely devastating to me. Cam Akers was such a bright spot towards the end of last season, and I knew that he was going to do special things this season for the Los Angeles Rams. And for him to go down right before training camp is about to start, it's just so sad to see because this guy is going to be so special in the NFL, and I really think that he's going to go far. He's exactly the guy they needed after all the setbacks that Todd Gurley had in his career. It just seems like the Rams have this thing going around where it just affects their running backs, and all their good running backs can't stay healthy. It's unfortunate, but I think that's a good sign for Cam Akers because he really is the real deal. He is going to be really good in the NFL, and I think from what we saw at the end of last year, he's an every down back. He's a powerhouse. He's a north to south runner and can be very elusive when he needs to as well. He's a very well-rounded running back, and I think that he will work out in the system. He'll be extremely good in the system, but he's just going to have to hold it off for another year. And I think he'll be stronger than ever. He'll learn the system. He's going to learn to work with Matt Stafford. I believe that everything has a silver lining, and he's just got to figure that out. But I think better days are ahead for Cam Akers.
Yeah, better days are definitely going to be ahead. He's still a very young running back, and he has a lot of career left to work with. But that doesn't help the Rams for the 2021 season. In fact, they now have a big decision on their plate. Do they go out and get some of these free agent running backs? Do they make a trade for a running back that's on a 1-year deal? Do they stick with the running back room that they currently have? This report from CBS outlines the fact that the Los Angeles Rams are not looking to bring in any veteran running backs, which, in my opinion, is probably not the best move. But it says Darrell Henderson will now step up into the lead back role for the Rams, and at least for now, they aren't looking to bring in any veteran running backs. That leaves unproven guys like Xavier Jones, Jake Funk, and Raymond Calais as the options behind Henderson for now. Now, when you take a look at that running back room, I like Darrell Henderson. I think he's an incredible talent. I think he reminds me a lot of the LeGarrette Blount type of running back. He's very physical, very downhill type of runner. He's just a little bit slower. He's not going to have any sort of breakaway speed, but he's just going to absolutely maul defensive lines and front sevens. But I think that he needs somebody that can offset him really well. And I don't see that in the rest of the running back room. I think that they have to do something, make a trade, go sign a free agent. And then there's quite a bit of options when you take a look at the free agent class that we still have available. Le'Veon Bell, Adrian Peterson, Todd Gurley. When you take a look at some trade partners, the Houston Texans have about 7,000-8,000 running backs. And then the New England Patriots, Sony Michel, he is on a 1-year rental because they didn't pick up his 5th-year option. I mean, there's plenty of opportunity here for the Rams to explore. Nick, I just want to get your take. What do you think the best move for them would be moving forward?
If I'm the Rams, I'm not making a move for a free agent. I'm not making a move with a trade. I'm waiting until the 53-man roster cut at the end of training camp and then figure out who was a cap casualty from a team around the league that's a running back, because we all know there's going to be at least one big running back that is cut from these rosters in the coming weeks. And that's a guy that you can get for no cost. He's going to be very easy to work in your system, I believe. Anybody who's coming into the system is going to be a backup and an offset to Darrell Henderson. Darrell Henderson has had this lead role in the past, and he knows how to work well in Sean McVay's system. So I think that's why McVay is not in a hurry to fill the backup role, and he's good with the young guys learning and then gradually getting into that position. But right now, I think Sean McVay and the rest of the Rams, their best bet is to really just focus on the team right now, who's on the roster, and then if you figure out down the line after training camp, we still need to get somebody to offset Darrell Henderson. He just can't do it by himself all year long. Then wait for a cap casualty and then sign one of those players, because there's definitely going to be one that we don't see coming and is going to be a great addition to the Los Angeles Rams.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a good way to go about it. I think if they take a look at the state of their running back room and they're not interested in seeing what that plays out as, I think that the best options for them are as follows. I would say take a look at the free agent class first, because there's a plethora of talent still available. I would start off with Adrian Peterson. Adrian Peterson played with Matthew Stafford last year in Detroit, so he understands how to play with Stafford. He understands, the chemistry that they have and kind of being on the same page in the same backfield. Then I would take a look at Todd Gurley. Todd Gurley is one of those guys that he understands Sean McVay's system. I know that they've had their odds and they've had issues in the past, but at this point in time, I believe that bygones need to be bygones. And if you want an opportunity to start in the NFL, this is your biggest opportunity that's going to come around outside of other injuries that may or may not happen. So you have to take the opportunities when they come, and you got to put business aside. So at the end of the day, I think those are the two free agent options. And then the last one I want to talk about, and I texted this to you when it first happened, but I said Sony Michel. Sony Michel is an expendable piece for the New England Patriots. I think that they have Damian Harris, who proved that he could be a workhorse last year. Then they drafted Ramondre Stevenson in the draft this year. On top of the fact that they still have James White and JJ Taylor, they have incredible talent all around that running back room. Sony Michel just seems like he's going to be the odd man out here. And at the end of the day, I think that Bill Belichick is a pretty smart guy, especially football wise. He understands what things cost and what things take, and if he can get a fifth or a sixth round pick for Sony Michel, a guy that they're looking to move on from anyway, you might as well get that pick now and use it to trade up later, or whatever the case is that he does in the draft. But I think at this point, Sony Michel is very expendable and could be what they need for a 1-year rental for Cam Akers replacement.
He absolutely could be. And then, as you mentioned earlier, the Houston Texans, they've got so many running backs. The only problem I have with them is, besides Duke Johnson, the other three guys are brand new to the team. It just wouldn't make sense that the Houston Texans would trade away one of the guys they just brought in, who they believe can make a difference on this team, for a pick that really isn't going to do them justice in the later rounds of the draft. If it's next year or the year after, it's just not going to be worth it for the Houston Texans. And they need all the running backs they can get right now with the way that offense is constructed. It's going to be a very run heavy system, and I just don't think they could afford to really lose one of those guys. I'm in agreement with you. I believe that Sony Michel is the best option available as far as a trade, but honestly, I'm still sticking it out. I'm going to hold off. Maybe Sony Michel is a cap casualty. We don't know yet, but honestly, he might be, and that could be when the Rams could strike and really get somebody for the cheap.
Yeah, absolutely. There's definitely a lot of potential. And then when you take a look at this situation, how it would play out fantasy wise, Cam Akers was one of those guys that in mock drafts, he was going as a fringe early second to late second round pick. Very rarely did he make it to the third round, and he was usually scooped up in the first or second pick of the third round. So he was going to be relied upon fantasy wise for a lot of players to be utilized really well. Now that goes out the window. Now we have to take a look at this backfield and say, how viable is it? What is there fantasy wise to say Can Darrell Henderson take over that backfield? How's he going to look? Will he be able to put out the same production that Cam Akers can? And if they trade for somebody, is it worth getting that guy as high as Cam Akers would have been?
Honestly, right now, the only option is to go Darrell Henderson, but his price has also risen tremendously. He's going to be taken in the third, latest fourth round of the draft in everybody's fantasy league. And so, are you willing to pay that price? Because you don't know who's coming to backfill Cam Akers' role. If it's a big name, if it's somebody they end up trading for and is a big name, it might be all for naught because Darrell Henderson might be splitting reps at that point. You also don't know how Matthew Stafford is going to work with Darrell Henderson or another running back. How's their chemistry going to be? Is it going to be more, do they want more of a passing back? Because Darrell Henderson is not a receiving back. He is a pure running back, and that's all he can do. So, Matthew Stafford, we've seen him work with receiving backs in the past and have success there. And I think Sean McVay would be open to that as well. So maybe look to see how these other running backs are working in training camp, see which one is progressing toward being that number two guy to offset Darrell Henderson, and then get one of them in the later rounds of the draft. But other than Darrell Henderson in the third, fourth round, I'm not touching this backfield. There's too many question marks, and you just don't know how Sean McVay is going to pivot this offense, especially with the amount of wide receivers that Matthew Stafford has at his disposal. I just think that the Rams could really rely on their passing attack and just use the running game to offset it ever so slightly.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that the Rams are going to rely heavily on that pass attack and really just kind of let the running backs do their thing, kind of go by the wayside. And it's unfortunate because that's what we expected from Cam Akers, and the running back room for fantasy gets just a little bit tighter. But that's just where we are right now. So I think that we're going to have to wait and see. And who knows if Adrian Peterson or Todd Gurley ends up going to the Rams, maybe they are somebody that you take an interest in. But as of right now, I think it's safe to say that you need to cool off on the Rams backfield and look elsewhere. All right, well, that's going to do it for now. Thank you all for watching. Be sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Hit that notification bell. We go live every single day. That'll be all. Peace and love.